It's been a few months since we last had an edition of Mariners Rewind, but we're back and I'm delighted to be joined by South Shields legend, Barrie Smith. Thanks very much for coming on today.
No bother, pleasure, mate.
Sound. So Barrie is a stalwart of 323 appearances, winning six trophies in the process. So I'm sure we'll be merely scratching the surface of some of the stories that Barrie could tell us today from his days with the Mariners. Just before we do go ahead, though, is there any plans that you've got to play anywhere in this upcoming season at all?
Yeah, so I'll be playing for Lough. Obviously I signed for Esh last season as a player coach, and kind of didn't work out the way I would have liked it. So I had a few weeks off, and then Lough approached us last season, and I kind of enjoyed it again. Mostly I didn't know what my reaction was going to be like after waiting so long with my knee injury. That's why I kind of retired. Yeah. And then kind of after I played that game at Shields, my last one against Dunstan, I kind of got a feel back for it. But to be fair, the level at Shields is it's a lot of commitment and things like that, which I couldn't have done. So that was the hardest thing for us. Obviously having to come away from Shields.
I think the first sort of moment was a time when we were back at Peterlee. Obviously, you've been there for 9 years, and you covered some of the travelling down to Peterlee as well. One of the games that you played at Peterlee before obviously the Jeff Thompson era was against Northallerton at Peterlee, and there was a special set of circumstances there where it was, I think, down to 10 men. You scored a cracking goal, then had to go off to work. Obviously you have to apologise. There's no actual footage of that one. I think this is pre the fantastic production that Daniel Prince provides on a weekly basis. But could you tell us a bit about that game and why it was so special to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of them games. I mean, when you play football and when you come away and you know that you've had a good game, kind of you'll always remember that game. And obviously, I remember Northallerton were a really good team pushing for promotion at the time. I think it was Lee Maitland who was playing centre midfield with us. He got sent off pretty early in the game. And it was just, everybody obviously thought we're going to find it hard. And I just remember running myself into the ground. I mean, I used to have a thing with Kingy at the time where he used to have to take us off with 10 minutes left so I could get a shower to get down to the team valley at Sainsbury's so I could kind of get back to work. But that day I knew I couldn't come off, and I just went to work late. But I was just playing in the game. It was obviously hard, but all the team kind of stuck together. And I just remember receiving the ball on the halfway line, and I've done 3-4 players, and I've hit this shot and it's just went straight in the top corner. So it's one of them that you hit probably 10 times and you're only going to do it once, you know what I mean? So it was good. And then we obviously went on to win the game pretty comfortable considering we only had 10 players. I think it was 5-4-2, 5-2 or something to finish.
Yeah. I think I've seen 5-3. I think when I'd had a look.
Something like that. Yeah.
You were still a Shields player, of course, but you turned out for LEYTON ORIENT in a pre-season friendly against Gateshead back in 2014. So, firstly, how does something like that even come about?
I remember I was at work again on night shift at Sainsbury's, and I got a text off Kingy saying, my mate, Russell Slade, who was manager at the time, he's texted us and they're down on a pre-season tour. They've had a couple of injuries and they're needing a player. Do you want to play on, I think it was a Tuesday night, I'm sure it was. And I was looking at the text thinking, he's pulling a fast one with me, yeah. I'm gonna reply saying why I blah blah, and then we'll come to football and then he's gonna show everybody the text and take the mick with us. And obviously I replied and he was like, all right, I'll get all the details to you. And I was like, oh, so it obviously is real. So obviously I had a vacated stadium, and it was about 6:30, and obviously Russell Slater obviously was waiting outside, and what a great bloke he is. Took us into change rooms, and the likes of obviously Dean Cox, I think David Mooney, Kevin Lisby, players like that in the change rooms. And to be fair, they were all like spot on with us, like just had us sit and do and had the music on, had a laugh and carry on. And it was a really good experience, and one that obviously I think I was 30 at the time.
Yeah.
You obviously didn't think that you're going to be playing for a professional club, considering the few months earlier they obviously were one penalty away from the championship and they got beat off Rotherham in the final.
I did wonder what sort of player, was at Leyton Orient at that time, but obviously I do remember Kevin Lisby. I mean, he's played Premier League before even, so...
He was at Charlton, not in the Prem, wasn't he? So it's, he's obviously a pretty high-profile player, but obviously... And our Dean Cox was there, and he was probably their shining player. I think he had been to Brighton and stuff like that. But obviously, they were all good players, but obviously they were pretty much... Obviously, I knew Kevin Lisby and that because obviously I knew they had played in the Premiership and things like that. But obviously, Dean Cox was probably their player, I thought.
Yeah, brilliant. And so, what apart from obviously being around the players in the dressing room, what sort of stuck out for you from that game, if anything, like when you actually came on?
Just the level of what they played, it's how fast the game is. And obviously when you go on, I mean, I remember being on for 5 minutes and I was absolutely knackered. I mean, it is hard when you come on as a sub in anyways, because obviously where some games are obviously at high intensity, and when you come on it takes you a while to get settled in. And I remember, obviously I think I come on for the last 12 minutes. And I remember it felt like I had played 60 minutes in that game. I was not, I mean, Gateshead, they played well, they moved the ball well, but Leyton Orient, they obviously had a good squad there at that time. But it was really nice. I mean, Gateshead, I'm from Gateshead, and I've always enjoyed playing at Gateshead Stadium. Played there a few times for Shields in the Durham Challenge Cups and things like that. So I mean, it was good. Obviously, playing for a full-time professional club in League One against my obviously hometown club.
An away match against Mossley back in October 2017. So it's EVO-STIK North at the time, and Shields got off to a fantastic start in that one with you scoring a goal which you described as one of your best. So, can you talk us through the goal?
Well, I'll talk about Dan's camera first.
Yeah.
I felt like trying to get him sacked after quarters after the game and says, Baz, you're not going to believe it. He says, you can't even see you kicking the ball. I says, aye, that'll be good. But I just remember the ball, obviously Baxter down the right hand side, he's clipped the ball in, and they had some big physical players, and the kids won the header, and it's obviously just bounced, and it's obviously one of them when you know that when you've hit it, because I've hit it that well, I knew for a fact it was going in. It was definitely, arguably, probably the best goal that I've scored. Just with the way, I mean, it was like a side volley. And I caught it pretty much perfect because it went like an arrow. And I remember John Shawns, Briggsy and all that, like in Julio and that at the time, saying, oh, what a strike, I'm allowed to carry on. And then you'll see in the video, because I never ever used to wear metal studs. Right. In fencing, Graham kind of went through a stage. It was when we were kind of leading up to Wembley and we're kind of playing on boggy pitches. And I remember going down to Southampton, Team Solent. Yeah. And obviously they were saying the pitch is boggy as out, bloody blah. And I remember them pulling me and making me send a text in the group to make sure everybody's got studs and mouldies. Right. And I was kind of thinking myself, they're basically telling me to do it, so they know that I end up bringing studs with me. So I ended up texting David Foley at the time. I was like, you haven't got any spare studs, have you? Studded boots. And actually Foley gave us them boots, and they're the boots I wore on the day, and you can hear fans shouting on the pitch after I've scored that goal. But as you see, it's them boots, and that's when I point to the floor at the boots and I start laughing. So it was quite funny. And I obviously used to have a thing with Fence. If I ever scored a goal, Fence had to buy us a pint. So that was always good, because he ended up having to put his hand in his pocket.
always brilliant when that happens, definitely.
Aye.
One of the things that stuck out for me for that game, I mean, I was there, but watching it back, you know, you don't remember how many chances Shields actually had. I mean, Mossley equalised pretty quick after your goal. You know, Cogden then won a penalty, but Arca very rarely missed from the penalty spot.
Yeah.
And then you had, you know, Connell miskicked a back pass, and Mossley go 2-1 in, and just snuck in, and you know, before you know it, they're 2-1 up going into half time. Possibly the worst timing as well, just on the stroke of half time for that to happen. What was it like, obviously, you know, being on a high after scoring that goal, but going in 2-1 down, probably unexpectedly? What was it like in the change room at half time?
Well, Leyton Graham were always good at kind of going through things in a pretty positive way. I mean, we hadn't played bad, we were playing on a hard pitch away from home against a big physical team. And obviously that's something that Leyton Graham will still have with the squad that he's got now, and he'll always have belief in them. So when they do the team talks, they're pretty good at making you believe in yourself. So you always, I know it was a bad time to go down 2-1, to go in at half time 2-1 down, but we still believed as a squad that we could still end up winning the game, even though we knew it obviously wasn't on a pitch that kind of suited the way that we played and things like that. But obviously when you've got the likes of, I think Jamie Holmes come off the bench that day, when you've got the likes of him and that come off the bench, obviously he's a player that's capable of destroying any team. He's pace, he's got great feet, he's obviously got an eye for goal, he scored a good few goals for Shields. So I mean, it's obviously half-time team talks and that were always really, really good with Leyton Graham. They give you a good bollocking when you need one, but when they know that you're getting beat, when you've dominated a game of football and you've had more chances than what they have, obviously they stay very positive and try to be as positive as they can to obviously get a better reaction out of you. So I knew that would play a part in us kind of getting the win what we did.
Yeah, definitely. One of my favourite games, that one. One of my favourites. It was absolutely fantastic.
It was a good game.
I guess it must have been a good bus journey on the way back. You know, big win like that, coming back from behind, and you know the amount of chances Shields had as well.
Yeah, obviously that's the bus journeys after winning are always really, really good. And that obviously with the travelling that Shields do, it's kind of, you want to win because you want the bus journey to be like good atmosphere, have a laugh and carry on, and your bus journey ends a bit quicker. To the ones where when you get beat, you're like, everybody's like down in the dumps and you sit there and it's obviously a long out bus journey back when you've lost. But obviously, luckily on that day we kind of stuck together against a hard team, and obviously, like I say, Julio's come out up with a equaliser, which was a great strike, and obviously Jamie Holmes has nabbed the winner pretty late on in the game.
One of your favourite games as well was the Integral Cup against Workington away, and you know, big win in the cup there again as well. But you were one of only 4 senior players to start the match, I think, with the rest of the team made up of academy players. So Could you talk me through what that was like, what it means to be a senior player who the academy lads may look up to for guidance?
Yeah, well, obviously when I was working at the club at the time, and obviously I used to see the young'uns, and obviously they were all good lads, and used to have a bit crack on with them and stuff like that. And I remember, I think that might have been my first start for a while, because I took bad with sinusitis. I come down with some sort of horrible flu in the January time, and I couldn't kind of pull myself around for a good 5-6 weeks. And I think I had only been back training and things like that for about 3 weeks. And obviously we went down there, and obviously I knew some of the younger ones had been getting in around the first team while I was bad, and a few other people were injured and stuff like that. And obviously we went down, and obviously at the time I didn't realise that there was obviously only 4. I think it was me, Dylan Morse, John Shaw and Lee Mason, maybe. So I think that maybe, and Graham Armstrong. Graham Armstrong was there as well. But that was probably my first experience of being a senior player and playing with a lot of kids that are obviously wanting to come and play in the first team. Yeah. And it was really, really good, because you kind of, they look up there, and you've got to be on the pitch, and you've got to kind of like stick up for them and help them as much as possible. And I thought all the senior players on that day did that, and I was very, very impressed with how good all the academy lads were on that day, against a team that obviously that was they were the same level, weren't they?
Yeah,
were they in the same league, I think?
Same league, yeah, but obviously, as I say, you took a lot of academy players down, whereas I think they may have had like a first team possibly. I don't recall whether they rested players as well or what, but
yeah, they had some young'uns, but I think they had more first team players than what we did. Yeah. And I just remember the pitch was absolutely terrible. It was one of the worst pitches that we had played on at that point in the season. But we ended up obviously getting a really, really good result on that day.
Yeah, brilliant. And you copped some rough treatment as well. I'd seen on the video, but you didn't let it stop you. You scored the goal that put Shields 2-1 up in the lead, and also assisted a fair few goals that day as well.
Yeah, I think I assisted Lee Mason for the first one, and then they've equalised, and then obviously I scored the penalty, and I think I've assisted Luke Sullivan and Graham Armstrong, I think, in that game. But I took a canny batter in that game. That's probably the game where after that game I got up the next day, and that was the start of my knee. That's when I started having bother with my knee, where I had to wait a full season for an operation on. But I remember one of the young'uns for them, it's on the highlights, he caught us in the side of the motor. I thought he had knocked my teeth out. And I was absolutely foaming. I remember getting off, and Lee and Graham could see that I was obviously a bit fired up and stuff like that. And Lee and Graham were like, "Baz, do not get sent off." And I was like, don't worry, I'll not.
Yeah. Well, I guess obviously you composed yourself well enough to not be sent off, but the way you sort of reacted and still turning a performance, do you think that perhaps brushed off on some of the academy players that were in the team as well?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things, obviously, because obviously prior to Lee and Graham coming, I used to have a pretty bad record for getting red cards, right, for losing my head a bit and things like that. And that was one of the first conversations Lee and Graham had with us. And they were like, look, you can't be getting sent off and this and that. So, like, when I played under Lee and Graham, I don't think I ever got sent off. And I think I only probably got about 3-4 yellow cards in my time under them. Right. And that was fair play to them, because obviously it changed me as a player, and they obviously played a massive part in that as well. But in that game, I mean, I'd obviously just come on, and I just remember thinking, because he was young, I kind of went on the pitch, and what I didn't do is I didn't kind of lose my temper and react. But I just remember going on the pitch and I just said, well, next time you get the ball, you're going to get it, mind. And it was just to kind of intimidate them. Because I've had it in the past myself, and you kind of just got to do that, you know what I mean? And I remember he went off not long after that. He kind of stayed the way, I think. But I had obviously little man syndrome. I was a bit angry and stuff like that. So I think he opted to go off the pitch instead of getting the kicking, like, but it was good. But the penalty obviously just creeped in off the post, so that obviously was good because it cost pence. $3.50 or whatever it is these days for a pint. So that's how it makes me laugh.
Yeah, added motivation, definitely always worth
it.
And I think you've captained the side at times. I think were you like actual club captain at Peterlee as well, weren't you?
Yeah, I was captain for the majority of the time at Peterlee. I think for the 9 seasons, kind of like I played 8 seasons. I ended up obviously injured for me last season, but I think I had captained the team in either one game or more for the last 6 seasons that I was there.
Yeah.
Which obviously it's an honour, and more so when we ended up having the team like we had that won the balls and that, obviously to be captain and lead the team up with the likes of John Shaw, Julio, Craig Baxter, Briggsy, Gav Cogden, all them. It's obviously it's a bit special because they're obviously a lot more high profile players than what I was. They had played at obviously bigger clubs and played professional and stuff like that, which obviously apart from the Leyton Orient game, I never.